Good morning, David. Nice to meet you.
Got the keys.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Audi Q5.
Yes. David, tell us a little bit more about BASF in Australia.
Well, BASF is a German multinational, and it's an organisation of over 111,000 people. And I talked about our purpose: we create chemistry for a sustainable future. In Australia, that's about 380 people servicing the markets around agriculture, coatings, energy and resources, and mining. And within an electric car like this, there's a number of things that that BASF provides, and chemistry is a key enabler for the electromobility sector. And I guess our core values around creative, open, responsible and entrepreneurial mean that it's really important we spend the time to understand the use of these products, how they work in practice and how they work in conditions in Australia. So looking forward to the road trip and hearing how you go at our Weatherall Park site and our Tamworth, and two great examples of the sort of products we create and the things we make here in Australia.
Fantastic, we're looking forward to it, and thank you very much for being part of that.
Fantastic, Jürgen, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, well, those are the SMA inverters, so that's the core of what we do at SMA. We develop power conversion equipment that obviously turns DC power coming out of solar panels into grid-compliant AC power. So basically all of the solar array, which is what takes the majority of the site, and probably a solar panel is the most iconic thing about a solar system, but the energy they generate is not directly usable. So what we do is we develop and manufacture the electronics that turn this power into actual usable compliant energy. It also controls stability, and it ensures that the highest level of quality is delivered to the grid.
So because there's so much solar generation in Australia, and that is providing a lot of energy to the grid, there are certain issues that need to be managed. How are we managing those issues, and what will we be doing going forward on the path to having a grid that's 100% renewables?
All right, that's a very good question, because when you look at renewable energy, particularly inverter-based generation, the more you connect, the weaker the grid becomes. And that is because normally, unless the system is designed to do so, those machines don't have any mechanical inertias. So if the grid becomes unstable, it's very difficult for inverter-based generation assets to recover that stability and avoid any blackouts or any potential power disruptions. So moving forward, we need to start thinking in different terms. So as much as we need to keep increasing the generation because demand for electricity is going up, we need to focus a lot more in strengthening that grid, in providing that stability. That's what SMA is working on. So all of our developments have been for a while already, but more and more looking into enabling technologies and ways in which we can support that grid.
Can you tell us a little bit about SMA's history as a German company in Australia?
Sure. Well, SMA originated in Kassel. Now 40 years ago, actually in 1981 was when SMA was founded. We started with those control systems, then quickly moved into inverters. Meant that SMA developed what is the first string inverter. So inverters back in the day were mostly reserved for aerospace industries and very niche applications. So the first solar inverter for a residential system as we know it today was an SMA development. And we are using all of that, engineering capability that Germany has built up over the years and applying it to the solar industry, and that's what has given us a leading position in the solar technology.
So CLAAS was founded in 1913 and we are a German company, still family-owned company, and last year we achieved a turnover of 4.8 billion, and we have around 12,000 employees worldwide, quite an international business. Australia is still a new market to us, so we have a lot of potential here to grow, but we also see growth quite recently because our machines fit quite well. Our vision and our focus is on sustainable processes in farming, and that is where we are working towards, and that is our key measure of today and of the future. Okay. So this is a CLAAS Lexion 770 combine harvester that just came back from harvest pretty much, and it's one of our latest models we have here in the market. So this is a track system, and track system is a really important topic within CLAAS. The primarily function of this is soil protection. And we achieve that with obviously a very big footprint of the machine, which then limits the compaction of the soil that you put to the ground. Here in Australia, there's common practice to do controlled traffic farming. This means that year on year you are using exactly the same tracks in the field, rather than driving randomly through the field. And these track systems are almost particularly designed for controlled traffic because you want to stay within your track, so you want to have quite a narrow track, but you still need a big footprint, which we then achieve over the length. What it means really for sustainability, you want to limit your compaction of the ground really to a minimum, and that is where the feature particularly helps. Alright, so now we have seen a combine. What we see now is a forage harvester. So it's our Jaguar 960, and I would like to show you a bit more details on that machine here. So for that we jump in through the cab. Welcome to the cab of the Jaguar. Here on the armrest attached you see the screen, which is a CB screen and which is pretty much the brain of our machine. So what you can basically tell it, either you want to have the maximum throughput of this machine, or you can be as efficient as possible. It will actually then shift the horsepower curves and have less horsepower output of the engine, which then of course saves you fuel.
We're on the way out to see some CLAAS harvesting equipment in action, which gives us a bit more time to talk about some other topics. Obviously, when buying a new machine, the customer has to be filled with confidence that they'll be able to get spare parts and reliable service. How do you ensure that happens? Spare parts is a really important topic as we're talking harvesting machinery, so minimum downtime, as we said before. When a machine stops because of a missing part, that's not acceptable. Being so far away from our warehouse in Germany, we actually have a warehouse here in Australia located in Melbourne, where we carry a total of $30 million of parts. It's where we are investing in, what costs a lot of money, but what is necessary to keep the customers happy and to assure them that they have a minimum downtime and a good experience.
We're a forage harvester business. We've been going for 25 years, and basically we've always run CLAAS machines. 15 years ago, if you got your 800 tonne, 1,000 tonne in maize, and that was a pretty good day. Today the boys are 1,800 tonne in the same time. So the telematics to me is I could be anywhere, and I just looked and I can see where they're working. The map, I can see what they're doing, and that is really a big saver to me. I don't have to get in a vehicle and drive 100, 200 k's to go and check on them. So it's beneficial for the driver, for the dairy farmer, for everybody. So, it's just amazing to be able to do protein, energy, starch, everything while you're working in a paddock. It's just incredible.
Here in Australia, we have our refinish coatings division where we focus on the refinish segment of the market, so not the production of vehicles. We also have some colour technicians that help customers to colour match where they need that support. We also have our refinish competency centre here behind us where we do training of technicians that are based in shops using our products, and we help them to understand the best processes application for our Glazeret products. We have just recently launched Glazeret 100 line, which is our waterborne base coat system with the lowest VOC content anywhere and well below European standards.
Part of my role, or the main priorities in my role, is to develop training programs fit for the industry, educating the industry on best practices and sustainable practices. Also, in addition, I'm responsible for building a functional technical team into the field that adds value to our customers' needs. Okay, so obviously when we deliver training programs into the industry, it's about learning, it's about education, it's about understanding our product and process, how to use it efficiently. So we try to simulate the best that we can on some panels, for instance, application of base coat, blending, try to simulate the best we can a refinish process within a body shop. As we bring customers on, it's important that they understand our product correctly. We don't just go, well, thank you very much, here's the product, off you go and use it. Part of our value-added services and to build a sustainable industry and best practices is to ensure that our customers are educated to the fullest extent that we can. We do pride ourselves on a prestige product, and I guess when customers purchase a prestige product, they expect a certain level of finish or quality that comes with that. But it's not only about the product that we sell a solution. We sell paint, but we sell an education solution. We sell field technical solution and support. We sell hotline support where a customer can ring up and get inquiry on an issue that they may have. Colour solutions. So our product is all about solution. Earlier when we were talking, you said, would you be able to apply paint within a week? Yeah. We're going to get you to do it within an hour.
Cool. Looking forward to that. Thank you, Michael.
Amazing. So EV is a natural progression from solar inverters, moving into EV charging solutions, built on the same principles of power electronics, but allows consumers that already have an SMA system or a PV system to add a EV charging solution to their home and allow them to charge their EV sustainably, cheap and environmentally. All manufacturers of EV vehicles, there was approximately 21,000 EVs sold last year, which is a 500% increase year on year over 2020. It's a logical shift. It's having your own energy station in your home. We no longer need fuel stations, we have energy stations. So you put an energy station in your garage and charge your own vehicle at home from your excess energy.
So we've been on the road with our BASF Audi e-tron for the last week, arrived in Sydney now, and I think our car needs a charge. Do you think you can help us with that?
Absolutely. Let's plug it in and get some energy flowing.
Brilliant, let's do that. Amazing, let's have a look how fast we're charging. 10 kilowatts. That is a lot quicker than using a normal household.
When you've got multiple technologies of stored energy, whether it be the vehicle, whether it be a battery or whatever it may be, it's logical that you prioritise and charge all of them. The vehicle's not at home during the day, so you charge the battery, and in the future, when you come home, you'll be able to use your vehicle as that home battery. And that's what SMA's direction is all about, is it's about creating a whole home solution. We're more than just a solar inverter manufacturer, which you've now seen. We're all about that holistic energy solution for the home and making it all one ecosystem.
talking about UVEX in general, I'm German. I grew up in Germany, and I was often skiing in the mountains. So that's where my first touch point with UVEX was seeing the UVEX ski goggles, basically. But I think, I'm sure UVEX is much more than just that. So what does UVEX do? What does UVEX stand for?
It's a funny situation where most people know the brand from the sporting and the skiing side, but actually the largest product categories are actually on the safety and industrial side. UVEX has two divisions, so there's a sport division and the safety division. So we work in the safety division, so the safety division does personal protective equipment from head to toe. For 60 years we've been doing safety footwear day. And so we really wanted to develop the footwear to address those issues specifically for the Australian workers. So we took a very systematic and scientific approach into the development of the project. I have my PhD and my scientific background also allows me to then delve into the scientific research to really try and validate what you're getting told in a focus group. Of all the PPE categories or personal protective equipment categories, footwear is the one that has the greatest effect on the physiological demands of the worker. They just say, oh look, we just want the footwear to be comfortable, and well, I spent my career in scientific research of footwear to try and understand what comfort actually means and what drives comfort, and it's a very nebulous term. Yeah, so when we developed the footwear, we really wanted to design the footwear from a foot first or foot down approach rather than developing the footwear around traditional concepts. So we call that our UVEX Bionomics. And in the design of the footwear, we have this wave-like structure across the front of the footwear, and that's really designed to allow the upper to expand and contract as you walk. So a lot of workers will really complain about the stiffness and rigidity of their work boots, and often only lace them up partially due to that discomfort. So this wave-like upper stems from an engineering to allow it to expand and contract as the foot moves. And in the design of the footwear, we've actually worked on the structure of the foam to really allow it to maximise both the energy absorption and also the energy return. So traditionally, most foams that are used in safety footwear are very dead sorts of foams, so they tend to absorb a lot of energy but not return a lot. So typically only return about 30% of the energy that they absorb. What we wanted to do was actually return as much as we can while not sacrificing that energy absorption. So we've developed a new cushioning technology which is called UVEX iPure Energy, and it returns 60% more energy than traditional foams. Really exciting, and that the workers can actually perceive the difference, and it does actually make a difference. So, the data we're measuring in the lab is actually sort of magnified over the course of the day. One of the other big factors that the workers complained about is heat stress. So one of the things we really focused on was the breathability of the footwear, and we also focused on everything from the gluing patterns and internal things that can affect the breathability of the footwear to also the foams that we use. So we use a very transparent foam which allows the moisture to go through, whereas typically internal foams are something that people tend not to focus on because it isn't seen. So it really is occlusive and tends to create increased humidity inside the footwear. 49% of people that wear safety footwear actually complain of foot pain and foot problems, and 2/3 of those foot problems are actually attributed to the safety footwear that they wear. So we really wanted to try and create a solution that would try and address the high levels of pain in the Australian workforce. So these are 3 different foot types, really designed to customise the fit of the footwear to the individual. To be able to actually recommend the footbeds, we actually have developed a pseudo 3D fitting app which uses calibrated images of the top of your foot and also an image of the arch of your foot to then recommend an appropriate footbed to the foot type. So UVEX's mission is all about protecting people, and I guess the natural extension of that is also protecting the planet that we live in. Something specifically we've done with the UVEX X-Flow range for the Australian market is to actually have the footbed made from recycled production waste. So 87% of the foam is constructed from granulated offcuts in the manufacturing process. And then the top cover is made from 100% recycled PET plastic, which is plastic bottles. So really try and, in every decision that we make, we really try and minimise the impact of the product on the planet that we live on.
As you can see, there's a huge array of chemicals in here. A farmer wouldn't usually have such small amounts. We just have that because of the nature of being a research farm. We need to have lots of our own experimental products as well as industry standards to make sure that we are comparing our products to the best products comparable on the market. They'll send us a little package like this all the way from Germany, and inside you'll only have a tiny amount of product to work with. So you have to be really, really careful with it. And that's some very, very special work that we do at the farm, is that early phase, very experimental work. It's kind of like following a recipe. So you get out all your ingredients and then you mix in the right amounts and you mix it with the right amount of water, and then you're good to go.
Okay.
That's all it is.
Yeah, and you put it in the sprayer?
Yep, and then we put it in the sprayer.
Okay.
Yeah. So now we've got it all automated with this amazing bit of machinery. It's very, very unique. There's only a few of them in the world, and pretty much what you can do is hook up all your treatments into these little compartments, and you can see here there's 16 booms, so you can have up to 16 different treatments. And the best part about it as well is that there's a GPS system, so basically you just go down to the field and it will apply the treatments in perfect straight lines. GPS works with this software from Harvest Master, and basically it will turn each boom on and off exactly where it needs to be. So yeah, all you need to do is drive up and down the field.
The site here in Tamworth is typical of the farming areas in Australia, be it for winter crop and summer crop. Climate average is very, it's a atypical climate site, if you like, for Australia. So it's like a giant lab without a roof, and it's very typical of the Australian agricultural production areas. This is an insecticide trial, so we applied a biological seed treatment at the start, and what we're doing basically is looking at any effect on germination of the seed. We'll conduct trials and development work on the major crops, field crops in Australia, and that can range from horticulture to crops like cotton that we're seeing here, or mung beans. Pretty much all the crops grown in Australia, we'll conduct work on them here if there's a project. In 20 years, there's been a dynamic shift in the way we conduct agriculture in Australia, moving from hard chemistry, if you like, to working with the environment more, understanding there are beneficial insects that control the pests that we have, looking to not be disruptive to the environment. That's been an exciting mind shift, predominantly in the last 15 years. It's not cheap to set up, it's not cheap to run. It represents a significant investment in Australian agriculture by BASF, and it's great that we're able to conduct the work on the ground here under Australian conditions. You can see here there's a lady beetle, which is a perfect example of working with the environment. Lady beetles are an alpha predator of insects, and they help control the pest as well, the Helicoverpa pest as well. So I'm standing in a fallow trial here, and we're looking at the untreated area in front of me here, which has got a number of weeds, and you can see that we're now 12 weeks after this trial began. It's given us a wonderful residual control of these weeds. That's the beauty of the work we do here. We've got a number of different soil types on the farm, so we're able to test products like this on a variety of different soil types to see what interactions there are there, but also different weed species. So we're able to garner a lot of information quite rapidly in a small place.
We're here today at VAU. I'm here with Kieran and Helen from Merck. We're really excited to see what's going to happen inside. Helen, do you want to give us a quick little overview of who VAL are?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Matthias. So yeah, VAL are a startup, an emerging startup in the cultured meat field. So we're really excited to be here today to meet co-founder George Pepu. We've been supporting, so Merck has been supporting VAL with some of the R&D and some of the pilot scale-up work that they've been doing in terms of growing up the cultured meat.
Fantastic. Sounds really interesting. Let's go inside and have a look.
Sure, let's do it.
George, thanks so much for making the time to have us here at VAL.
My pleasure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys actually do?
So we make cultured meat, and cultured meat is a technology where you take the cells that are normally found in meat and grow them up in an environment outside of the animal. So you end up with something which is very, very close in biology, but grown inside large stainless steel tanks using electricity, so it has a much smaller physical footprint, takes up much less land and a much smaller environmental footprint. We use this technology to engineer entirely new types of food from the ground up that are tastier, more nutritious and more functional than meat from animals. So it's our goal that in the future you'll purchase meat based on brands and you'll have familiarity with the experience of eating those brands and why you choose them, not based on the animals that they come from. We have already built up the world's largest cell library. We have more than 15 different species and more than 400 cell lines in-house, and our goal is to continue to expand that and characterize all of these different species and cell lines across that cell library based on what they bring to different foods.
It's very interesting. Now, with the process, I'm sure a lot of our viewers, a lot of our members haven't really paid a lot of attention to the cultured meat space. Can you run them through the process of how that actually works?
Absolutely. So we start off with a biopsy from an animal, which is a piece of muscle tissue, usually about the size of an almond. We take that, we then have a series of steps that we've developed ourselves that allow us to separate out different cells and then effectively search through tens of thousands or millions of cells to find those that have the ability to grow fast and for a long time. We can then store those as long as we want. And when we're ready to produce them, we take out a little vial of cells from the freezer and thaw it and place them into some nutritional media. That nutritional media has everything those cells need to grow. Sugars, salts, amino acids, and molecules that tell those cells it's time to grow into lots more of themselves. We place those in large bits of equipment known as bioreactors or cultivators, where those cells multiply and multiply and multiply. We're then able to harvest those cells out of the cultivator and turn those into the finished food products that will land on your plate.
We're here today thanks to Merck, our member. Can you run us through a bit of the process working with them and what they've been involved in?
Yeah, absolutely. So Merck have been a supplier for us since relatively early on. When we were 3 people working out of a shoe cupboard lab, which was borrowed off a friend for free in the evenings and weekends, Merck was one of the very first suppliers that we've worked with. We've increased our scale pretty dramatically, as you can see from the fact we're in our own building now with a team of 50 people. And so we buy a lot of the individual components of that growth media from Merck, as well as a range of other suppliers. We buy plenty of bits of equipment from them as well, but they've been a consistent supplier both at the lab scale and now some parts of the larger scale manufacturing. We're likely to continue to work with them, at least in the first generation products.
Fantastic.
So George, how is science helping to address the challenges of a growing world population?
Great question. The way we grow our foods, while it has become much more sophisticated, the paradigm of growing green plants in the ground or rearing animals and slaughtering them for meat has really not changed that much over the last 10,000 years. What we've seen over the last decade or so are several companies that are employing biology directly as a way of making molecules that would otherwise require intensive animal agriculture or large-scale farming.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, there's some amazing food innovations taking place, and I guess it's all really also helping to reduce that environmental footprint out there, which, you know, Merck, we're very passionate about sustainability, and so I think the work that Val is doing in the cultured meat space really aligns well to our drive to really, have that reduced, environmental footprint as well. So you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, and thank you for all the support.
This year we celebrate 50 years of Weidmüller in Australia. the German company Weidmüller saw fit to send some people to Australia in 1972 to start up a Weidmüller company here. Since 2004, we've been developing high-power LED solutions for lighting unusual situations, from the headlights of the Indian Pacific to where we are today in the central west of New South Wales at Wellington Caves, where we see examples of LED lighting solutions that were installed about 10 years ago. When we originally started developing LED show cave lights back in about 2004, most of the high-powered LEDs were quite into the blue spectrum. They're fairly cold, 6,000 degrees Kelvin. That's not the best thing to have in a cave. But we found over the years that it was much better to go closer to the incandescent colour temperatures. And at the moment, the latest products that we're producing are closer to 2,700 to 3,000 degrees Kelvin. I'll just put one light here. This is about 3,000 degrees Kelvin. Very, very efficient light. This is only 11 watts in total. The way we make the lights, we make them with different beam angles. This one is quite narrow, about 6 degrees, and we can use that to highlight a particular feature. We can then bring in a wider beam light, which you can see I've brought in at the bottom here. It's about 40 degrees, and that gives us the effect of seeing some nice shadows in those rim pools at the bottom there. Through research, I'm finding there is an interaction between the animals that live in the cave, particularly cave crickets, were not reproducing under the influence of the very bluish white LED lights. But in response to that, we're no longer doing the really cool lights. We're making them much warmer, something much closer to the incandescent lights that have been here for many, many years, although at a much reduced power consumption.
That now, because of COVID, started doing some research about impact from lights. And then when the visitors came back, you could see the impact because the lights were going on, but the body heat from the people and the breathing changed the humidity. I can tell you that a typical tour in this cave can change this by 0.5 degree. It can dry features out, so the water we talked about a little while ago can have an increased evaporative rate. So it changes the natural process. It's a negative, but it's also an important part of education of people and then conservation due to that.
It's got a design life of at least 20 years in a cave situation. Also being fully waterproof and dustproof. Should there be a flood at any time, this is fully protected. They're tested down to 10 metres underwater. So in total, this is only 22 watts. So as you can see, you don't need a lot of energy to light a show cave with LED lights. Here we have some Weidmüller switch mode power supplies. So on one side we have the 240 volt mains, or in this case it's 415 3-phase coming in from the surface, and we're converting it to a safe extra low 24 volts DC. Here we have two power supplies, so that should something unthinkable happen and one of these fails, the other power supply automatically takes over. To make it even safer, we've added battery backup, which is in this cabinet here. So even if someone is on a tour and there is a mains failure, they wouldn't even know inside the cave. In today at Wellington, there used to be 8,000 watts of floodlights behind us, and now that's down to about 250 watts of LED lights. So the heat burden on the cave is greatly reduced, the reliability is much better, and I think aesthetically what you see is much more enhanced.